Blessed is the Blessed One. Blessed is the giver of blessing. Blessed in this moment now and every now to come. Come all of you. Come all of us and bless the one who blesses. Come all of you. Come all of us and bless the one who blesses. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Come all of you. Come all of us and bless the one who blesses. Come all of you. Come all of us and bless the one who blesses. Do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do,
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la,
How sweet it is to be together on this stage. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this stage. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Perfect. On that side, that's great. Yep. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Welcome those who are in our sanctuary, and I know we have many on our live stream. It's a pleasure to be together on this beautiful spring evening here at Temple Israel. I'm Rabbi Michael Friedman. Please be joined, as I am so often here on our Bima, by my good friend and colleague, Rabbi Jeremy Wiederhorn, and our guests for this evening. Mark, if you don't mind, I'll first say Bishop Robert Stearns of Eagle's Wings, and Mark Gerson is here as well. We Jews, especially here in Fairfield County, do not have a lot of opportunity to engage with the evangelical community. We should do it more. And more importantly, with Evangelical Zionism. And so when we had the opportunity to bring Mark and Bishop Stearns here, I jumped at the opportunity because I think this is such a fascinating and poorly understood. Not that we misunderstand, it's that we don't really have any understanding, I think, as a community of Christian Zionism, Evangelical Zionism, why it is, what it is, how it works. And so we're thrilled to have the two of you here. Welcome. And Bishop, I want to invite you to share a bit of your story. How did you come to be, I'll say, the face of Evangelical Zionism and the leader of Eagle's Wings?
Well, thank you so much, and thank you, Rabbi Michael and Rabbi Jeremy, for the privilege of this evening. Thank you, Mark, for making the shidduch, making the connection, which I know came through some friends here locally as well. And good evening, everybody. It's great to meet you all and have the time together this evening. So I'll answer Rabbi's question circuitously. I'd like to begin with kind of a somewhat bombastic claim, but it's a claim that I make after 34 years of engaging Israel. I first lived in Israel in 1991, and since then I've taken well over 120 trips. I've brought about 40,000 people to Israel with me since 1994, our first trip, and we've brought 28 solidarity missions since October 7th. To my knowledge, more than any other Christian organization that I know of, 28, almost one a month up until the last few months. Thank you. So I want to start with this statement, even though it's not what Rabbi asked, but I want to start by saying that we believe in what drives us. We believe that anti-Semitism is a fixable problem. Now, I understand that that sounds like a bombastic claim when we look at 3,000 years of history and we go back to Haman and all the manifestations, right, of anti-Semitism throughout history. But we are in a unique moment in human history if we zoom out to the macro. And that unique moment is this, that for the first time in 2,000 years of Christian history, we have the emergence of what is known as evangelicalism, evangelical Christianity. You've heard about those evangelicals. Here I am. So here's a live one in your midst tonight. Evangelical Christianity is the only branch of Christianity that is growing globally. Every other branch of Christianity is in decline, most of them precipitously. So mainline denominations, other denominations are precipitously declining. Evangelicalism is exploding globally. Conservatively speaking, there are 650 million evangelicals globally. 650 million, okay? But the question is it good for the Jews? And that's the answer that we're going to give tonight as we kind of look into the question. Evangelical Christianity, unlike Roman-based Christianity historically, Roman-based, Vatican-based Christianity had the stain of theological anti-Semitism, right? The accusation that the Jews killed Jesus, et cetera, et cetera. And that has had all kinds of iterations throughout all of the generations. And yes, you had Nostra Aetate at Second Vatican Council that, seeked to amend some of the Catholic journey, and we're grateful for those efforts, but there's a long way to go. But my theological ancestors were suffering during the Inquisition along with your biological ancestors. Let me say that again. My theological ancestors were suffering during the Inquisition, during all of the papal persecutions, along with your biological ancestors. Why? Because evangelicalism always had this belief that it was the Bible over the Pope. It was the Bible over the church. The written word had authority over the church. The church did not have authority over the written word. That becomes extremely important. In a minute and a half, we'll get there. So when an evangelical reads the Bible, and we read Genesis 12:3, I will bless those who bless you, the land belongs to Israel, we say, oh, well, God says this, and this is what the Bible says, and so we are in support of it. So we interpret Scripture in a completely different way. So there have always been evangelicals. There have always been philo-Semitic, pro-Israel, pro-Jewish Christians throughout history. But evangelicalism didn't exist as an organized movement. Arguably, evangelicalism has grown along with America. That is really the ascendancy of evangelicalism on the global scale to the place that now I said it's about 650 million globally.
And here in America,
about
evangelicals
70 million.
which would make you the largest
Right.
religious group, the largest faith community in America.
That's right, yes. Quick examples, Guatemala 50 years ago was about 2% evangelical. Today, Guatemala is about 50% evangelical. The Philippines are now 30% evangelical. We just had David Sobrepena, the pastor, with us. So evangelicalism is exploding around the world. Okay, that's evangelicalism in a nutshell, so we understand that. So I grew up in an evangelical church. So we heard all the time, the Bible, oh, Israel's God's chosen land. The Jews are God's chosen people. That's what we were taught. We heard that regularly. That's the ethos that I grew up in. What was the problem? I never met a Jew. I never met a Jew. So you existed for me as an idea. You existed for me as a concept. You existed as a refrigerator magnet that said, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. But there was no humanizing of the relationship. Zelo tachlis. There was no connection. There was no actual interaction. And so all that we had was this sentimental theological idea that did not have any activism or any real relationship to it. So that changed finally in my early 20s when I took my first trip to Israel, and everything changed. And my life went from reading the Bible in black and white to reading the Bible in 4D, high-def color, all the things. And that began, this journey that now Eagles Wings has just celebrated our 32nd year. That again, as I said earlier, we've brought 40,000 people, over 1,000 pastors. So we'll get into Evangelical Zionism in just a little bit, but I would just say the following very quickly. I would say, so why, if I'm raised in this church that loves the Jewish people, loves the state of Israel, why do we not have any interaction? Why did nights like this not take place? Why did why did communication not take place? And I would say what I call the three gorillas. There used to be two gorillas when I started giving this speech. Now there's three gorillas. So gorilla number one is that all evangelicals are missionaries, and Jewish souls are the most important souls for us to save, and really this is all a conspiracy to convert you. And really this is all about converting you to Christianity, right? So that's gorilla number one. Gorilla number two is that this is actually all about the end of the world and the apocalypse, and Jesus cannot return until Nefesh B'Nefesh has a really good year, and you all get where you're supposed to be, over to Israel, and then finally Jesus can return. So this is the second, right, like myth that is out there, the second narrative. And the third, which is more recent over the last couple election cycles, is that evangelical Christians are all white supremacist, Christian nationalist, homophobic, this, that, and the other. Fill in all the nasty expletives that you can fill in, and they're horrible, horrible people. And so it was nice of the rabbi to invite one tonight to greet you, right? So these are the three gorillas that I think have kept us, kept that barrier of suspicion. So my answer on one foot is that, if I'm a Christian missionary to the Jews, I'm the least successful missionary ever, because, show me a Jew I've converted in 34 years. Let's just start there. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, the end of the world, the apocalypse, all of that. Most people who have the end of the world figure out are selling books on late night television, and they've got, although lately the world does seem like it's a mess, so I don't know about you, that one seems more believable lately, but who knows what the end of the world, we're worried about right now, today, the world today, and what we need to do today. And number three, the defamation of evangelical. Are there some horrible evangelicals? Yes, sadly there are, because every single group has some horrible people in there that make up this tiny extremist whatever, and then the media gets a hold of that, and the algorithm loves to demonize the other and create a nation filled with fear and polarization. But most evangelicals are kind, good, loving, broad-hearted people who just want to do the right thing and live by the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. It's the vast majority of the evangelical world. And so that's what we do. We wake up every day for 32 years and say, how do we help Israel? How do we strengthen the Jewish people? And what can we do to make them stronger? And then about 5 years ago at a Shabbat dinner,
10 years ago now,
a long time ago, I met this amazing man, Mark Gerson, who is one of the great leaders of the Jewish people in this generation. He's an author, a philanthropist, an educator. And Mark came alongside our movement and really helped just steer us to the next level. And so that is just a little bit about my journey and what brings us to tonight.
It's a great introduction. Thank you. We'll have more questions for you in a second, Bishop. But yeah, Mark, so how does someone who's been a Jewish leader for a long time in a lay capacity,
Whose wife is a Reform rabbi.
whose wife is a Reform, I was going to get there, whose wife is a Reform rabbi, who's founded Jewish institutions, who's been a strong, ardent, vocal Zionist, how do you get involved with the Evangelical Zionist community?
well, I would say first.
Pastor, did you? Okay.
Got it. Yeah. First, theologically. So, in the book of Numbers, the Gentile seer Balaam keeps trying to curse the Jews, and he's unsuccessful because God thwarts him at every vantage point. And then he looks over a hilltop and he says to the Jews, "They are a people who dwells alone," and that's his curse. Now, because of our evangelical friends in our day, really in the last 50 years, they've lifted that curse. So we are no longer a people who dwells alone, because now we have tens, probably hundreds of millions of genuine friends or potential friends in evangelical Christians. So this is a very special moment of world historical importance and a real privilege to be able to participate in this lifting of the biblical curse of Balaam, which has really just been lifted in the lifetime of everybody in this room. Now, practically, we all, probably everybody in this room, asks the question, how can I eliminate or at least diminish anti-Semitism, whatever? The answer to my wife, who's a rabbi, and I is very simple. Forget about that. Just cultivate philo-Semitism. There are tens of millions of actual or potential philo-Semites at the door waiting for us to open and welcome them in friendship, and that's among evangelical Christians. And then whenever there's anti-Semitism, if evangelical Christians are empowered, they'll fight it in their language, in their communities, through their relationships, far better than any of us can. And then we have to ask the question, well, how can we cultivate this friendship with the highest ROI, return on investment? So if one wants to increase love of Israel, increase friendship of the Jewish people, or diminish anti-Semitism, how can I do the most for the amount of money that I have to spend? It's the basic question that every business person and investor asks in our commercial lives, so we should ask in our philanthropic lives.
Which is your professional life also, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then I met Bishop Stearns and was, and when you do the math, the model is astonishing. I mean, it costs about $6,000, with the shekel being a little stronger. It's about $6,000 to send an evangelical pastor chosen by the bishop and his team to Israel. And when the bishop and his team select which pastors go, they have a mechanism to decide. It's how big is the church membership, how big is the social media following, sometimes how big is the music followership, and how young are they? In other words, because it's much more effective to send a 32-year-old pastor who's going to be speaking about the Jewish people, the Jewish state, Jewish texts for the next 50 years than it is a 73-year-old pastor who's not going to be doing it very much longer. So for $6,000, we're able to send a Christian leader who has a significant church following or social following or music following or all the above on a trip to Israel, and then sustain him in a Christian Zionist community. And we have a friend of the Jewish people and a lover of Israel who is going to be by our side in friendship and even love for the next several decades. And I would also say that our engagement, our involvement, our deep friendship with the evangelical community, which is all due to him, it's really helped make my wife and I better Jews. I mean, we've been able to understand our Judaism in a much deeper and more profound way through our friendships with evangelical pastors who come to our Shabbats, come to our Seders, we see them all the time, and we learn from them, they learn from us, and it's really what a great friendship is about. And this friendship is one of world historical importance for the reasons that we've discussed, and is really such a privilege for anybody and everybody to participate in.
You want to ask a question, or I have a follow-up to some of these things.
Either way, happy to. Yeah, I can go right into actually one of the gorillas,
Yeah.
since you brought them, since you've put them out there right away, right?
Right.
I'll just start with one. We could talk about a few different ones, but you mentioned how, Bishop, you haven't converted one Jew, and so you wouldn't be a very successful missionary in that sense. But certainly, there are evangelicals who are missionary, right? And I'm just wondering, how and where do you draw the line in terms of, in these relationships, other forms of Christianity or evangelical Christians, are they in the tent, are they outside of the tent when it comes to these conversations, and how do we sort of come to terms with all of that?
Sure, it's a great question.
Yeah.
So we were one of the first organizations that put on our website a non-proselytization statement. So we put that out years and years and years ago, right on our website, that we are not a proselytizing organization, and that is not our motivation nor our hidden agenda. I mean, it doesn't exist in our work. When you have 650 million people, it's impossible to speak for everybody or to qualify or clarify everybody. I will say this: in 32 years in this space, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of meetings with Christian Zionist leaders all around the world, I have never been in a single meeting, ever, where Christian Zionist, Evangelical Zionist support has been about, let's do this, 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 and that, and then we're going to evangelize, then we're going to get them, then they're going to. That's never once been an agenda item. So those of us in the space who understand really, and I say this I love the Jewish people, I love the state of Israel, but I would offer that I think, to be honest, what we're really fighting for here is classic liberal Western values, right? We're fighting for freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, women's rights, minority rights. These are all the basic human rights that we are fighting for. So that needs to be what I think unites us and what does galvanize the Christian Zionist community together. So, of course, there are some organizations out there that do that, and most of them are very clear about what they do. Sure. But we have had that statement on our website for years and years and years, and in 32 years, I've never once been a part of a meeting where, here's our strategy, how this is all going to work out. What the discussion is how do we strengthen the Jewish people? How do we keep them safe? How do we create a strong Israel? How do we support?
Yeah, I would say it's even the opposite. The evangelical pastors that we become close with, and I'm talking about dozens and dozens, I mean, they want to better understand their Jewish roots. I mean, it's not uncommon to see a pastor with a tattoo of a tree, and they say, "You're the branch, you're the roots, we're the branch." I mean, every Tuesday at noon Eastern time, I teach Torah as a Jew, and I teach Torah in the Jewish way, very textually, line by line. We get through about 10 verses a week. We're now doing Leviticus 21 tomorrow, to an entirely Christian audience put together by Eagle's Wings. And so, if the evangelicals were trying to convert us, I don't know why they'd bring a Jew to teach Torah in a very Jewish way. I was even speaking at an evangelical church in Texas about my book, God Was Right, a few months ago, and the pastor said, one of his congregants asked, well, why are you having him come and not a Jew for Jesus? And he said, because he's not going to try to convert us. He said, we're not going to try to convert him, he's not going to try to convert us. He can come whenever he wants, it's great. And so it's because we don't try to convert each other that this friendship can happen and blossom.
Sure.
We are all, we're not unaware that we have theological issues that divide us. We respect the things that separate us. There are theological issues that separate us. But we are united on far more than what separates us. All of the list of things I just gave a few moments ago and many others that we can talk about, the basic human rights that Israel exemplifies for all people. And so that is what we're fighting for. What divides us is this question of Jesus. Jesus is my favorite Jew. Mark Gerson is my second favorite Jew. So we're divided on the identity of the Messiah, but we're united in the fact that the Messiah comes soon, and in our day, may we work for the coming of Messiah. When he comes, there will be a great press conference at the King David Hotel, and they'll say, sir, could you please clear this up for us? Is this your first visit or your second? And I think his answer will be yes. Because I don't think he's about shaming either community. I think he is about all of us being authentic in our pursuit of the righteousness, the justice that he calls us to pursue, and he will work out those details as time unfolds. Right now, we have a world that is losing its mind, and we need to build the greatest, largest coalition ever in human history. We need to build a coalition of common sense. Common sense and basic decency has got to unite us against some really extremist forces that we're facing.
It's the first person that I heard give a similar answer to what you just gave was Pastor Hagee, that some people may know as well, and runs another different organization, CUFI, Christians United for Israel. Curious how your organization differs from that organization and whether you work together at all or if there's any overlap. If it's just for those that may be familiar with that organization.
You work for CUFI as a young man, right?
Yeah, I had the privilege of working for Pastor Hagee and helping found that organization many years ago, and have the deepest respect for Pastor Hagee and the trailblazing way that he has carried things forward, and great respect for CUFI and the wonderful work they do. There are some different modalities that we approach differently, and that's great because that's a lot of work that has to be done. I think our niche is that, as Mark said earlier, we're particularly focused on young emerging pastors. We specifically find those young pastors who are kind of ambivalent. They're like, Israel for them is 3,000 years ago and 3,000 miles away. It's not a part of their daily life. And we bring them. And as Mark just said, it's not uncommon. This is common. This is common to hear a pastor then say, oh yeah, I went in 2020 and I've been back 7 times, you know, and I've brought now 400 people with me. So
That's one of the things Eagles Wings measures is after your trip, how many trips from your church did you bring over the next 18 and 36 months? In other words, how much of a force multiplier for the Jewish people in the state of Israel are you? And it's all very measurable.
yeah.
So one might think that Eagle's Wings is a reference to the American bald eagle, but those of us who know our Bible know it's a biblical reference.
Kanfei Nesharim.
Yes, that we should be, that we all people, the Jewish people, it's a prophetic vision that we will be carried back to the land of Israel on eagle's wings. And you identify, as you noted, young, influential pastors who have a bright career ahead of them. You bring them to Israel. And so would you tell us about that type of a visit? What's most impactful for them? I know we also have a video, I think, of one of the that describes some of those visits.
Absolutely. I mean, it's that first trip that I went on. You know, I was like 21 years old, 22 years old. I'd never been out of the country. I remember I was there in December, and I kept looking around in December, and I kept thinking, where are the Christmas decorations? Like, I had no clue where I was. Like, I was like, what am I in? This was a completely new experience for me. And there was a little bookstore, if you know Jerusalem, there's a little bookstore right in the center of Jerusalem, Samuel Pomerantz Bookshop. Oh. And I wandered into Samuel Pomerantz Bookshop. And
it's moved a few times, but yeah.
What's that?
It's moved a few times.
It has, right.
Yeah.
It used to be right in Keren Hayesod, and now it's up near where the old Knesset is, right in the center at the head of Ben Yehuda there. And there was a young yeshiva student who was studying there, and he was from Toronto, and I'm from Buffalo. And so finally, I was in culture shock, right? Like, I had never been outside of America, and I'm trying to absorb a different language, a different culture, a different religion. It was a completely new experience for me. And here, thank goodness, was this guy from Toronto. And so we struck up a friendship. And he was in yeshiva, and he said, well, have you been to the Kotel? And I said, what's the Kotel? And he said, well, that's the Western Wall. He said, well, let me take you down, and we'll come to a prayer service. So we go down, and they're davening, and he's explaining the prayer service, whichever it was. And I remember sitting there saying, okay, now who are these people? These are not Hindus. These are not Muslims. These are not Buddhists. They are praying to the God of the Bible. That is who I pray to. They're praying to the same God I pray to. They're praying out of the scriptures that I hold and cherish, the Tehillim and the Navaim. They're praying the prayers of the prophets. And I remember thinking, well, how can my relationship with them be like my relationship with any other people group if I came from them? Like, I came out of this people group, and it was a transformative experience. So for me, the fact that the generosity of Mark and other friends have allowed me to give this gift away now, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, and to see person after person after person, leader after leader after leader, just come alive and understand that it's the greatest privilege and blessing of my life. So we do have a video, and the video is pretty self-explanatory. Steve, does it have
But before the video,
Yeah.
just a couple things. One, something you said before, which is stunning when you hear it, but it makes a ton of sense when you do the analysis. When you said anti-Semitism is a solvable problem,
Right.
I mean, if we could send tens of thousands of
There's
pastors
96,000 evangelical pastors in
yeah,
America.
and if you could send
In America, just in America.
yeah, you send 25-30% of them, and you pretty much solve the problem in America, because you've got a leader speaking to high tens of millions of his parishioners who are going to be fortified against anti-Semitism to the extent they're going to become Philo-Semites, and there you go.
Outside of Chicago, one of our pastors, Dr. Ken, came on the trip. His life was revolutionized. We sent him back. We connected him to the local Jewish Federation. And I don't know if you've heard of CARE, but CARE came in.
Committee on American Islamic Relations. That's what we're,
Yes.
CAIR is what you're referring to, yeah.
Say it again.
The Committee on American Islamic Relations,
Yeah.
I believe,
Yeah.
pretty sure. Yeah.
They came in and tried to get the City Chamber of Commerce, the City Council, to pass an anti-Israel resolution, banning any of the investment or connection or anything to Israel. The Jewish Federation is aware of this, and they're trying to oppose this. They're getting nowhere. We connected them to Dr. Ken. That week, like within hours, I think it was within 2 days, he mobilized his church. They all showed up at the meeting where this was being voted on against Israel, against the Jewish people. All of a sudden, now all of his people are in the room. And they began going to the mic, person after person after all these Christians, speaking out against this anti-Israel resolution. And this resolution that was going to pass was voted down. And the CARE representatives, who had been presenting themselves very nicely, been presenting themselves very moderately and nicely, all of a sudden the mask came off, and it ended up making the news. They ended up screaming and yelling. They had to be taken out of the room because this allyship had come into place. Respectfully and lovingly, I say to my Jewish brothers and sisters, you're not going to win this on demographics. You don't have the people. You have to forge meaningful alliances, and you have, in America, a potential community of tens of millions of people, but for a lot of them, you exist as an idea because they've never met a Jew. So you're a refrigerator magnet, you're a lyric in a song, you're a sentimental prayer, but they don't know how to help, they don't know what to do, they're not engaged, and so that's the bridge that we try to build.
And getting back to the rabbi's question about the most meaningful part of the trip to Israel for the pastors surprised me, but didn't surprise you because you'd heard about it from so many of them.
We do a survey when the pastors leave the trip, and there's a whole host of questions, but one of them is, what is the highlight of the trip for you? And one of the things that we do on the trip is there's an organization we partnered with that brings them into homes all throughout Jerusalem, and we do Shabbat in Jewish homes. So we'll send 5 pastors to this home and 6 pastors to that home. 95%, maybe 98% of the time on that questionnaire, the most meaningful experience for them of the entire trip was Shabbat.
Shabbat dinner. Yeah.
How hard is it to invite somebody to your house for Shabbat? And yet, that is the thing that cements this for the pastors. That's the thing that absolutely changes it for them. So this video kind of gives an overview of that. Does it explain the schnacky thing in the beginning? It's that video, right? So this will read the text in the beginning because it will explain the rest of it, and we'll go from there.
Thank you so much to Sean. We appreciate you for helping us run all the tech here in the sanctuary. And this will play both on the live stream and here in person.
Hi, my name is Lance Schnacke.
And I'm Ali Shanaki.
And this year, Bishop Robert Stearns invested in our family of 15 to bring us to Israel for the very first time. And it forever changed our lives. You know, prior to this, we grew up reading the scriptures day after day for years and years and years. But it wasn't until we put boots on the ground, on the soil, walked off the plane into the land, that things began to change, forever impacted and changed our lives.
There was just something different about when I actually was in this land, that it brought like reality to what I was reading. Reading my word, my faith is not the same. It's so vivid and so real reading about these places that I literally can look in my camera roll and have pictures to post. So now when I go and I share with my followers, oh, this is what I read today, I can post along with it a picture to show them this is more than just something you're reading. This is something that is historical, that is actually real. There's 15 of us, about 11 of us do social media, and just my channel alone, in the videos that I posted just on that one trip, have over 3.6 million people that watched them, that were flooding the comments, sharing them like crazy because they never rarely get to see, especially my generation. It's important that as influencers and as pastors and as leaders, that we're the ones getting there first.
We feel it's our mission, it's a calling for us to bring people back, not just once, but many times over and over. And I really believe because of the investment that Bishop Robert and Eagles Wings made into us, there's going to be tens of thousands of people that I really believe are going to come over there. Pastors need to be there. It changes how they teach. It changes how they see things, how they interpret scripture. They need to understand it, and we are going to do our part to bring people over there as well and get them excited about the land of Israel.
I don't think our church would be where it's at today had I not had the opportunity to go to Israel. Since then, I think I've taken 8 trips back. I've led those for, one was an all-man trip, and then we've taken marriage trips and family trips just to go and be connected to the land and the people. What you guys are doing is absolutely revolutionizing pastors' ability to teach the scripture correctly in context to the land and what all of that signifies and means. The news likes to deliver to us their take on it, but to be able to be there and see how it truly is, which allowed me the opportunity to turn right around after that trip and take about 50 men to the nation of Israel, which has radically changed our church.
Hey, my name is Pastor Adam Mesa. I'm here in sunny Southern California, and I pastor Abundant Living Family Church, multicultural, multi-ethnic, and a multi-generational church of around 12,000 people. And I was blessed enough to have my first trip sponsored by Bishop Stearns, Eagles Wings, and it radically changed my perspective on my love for Israel. My love for the Jewish people was life-changing for me, and I had committed to really make sure our ministry focuses on the land of Israel. And so since then, I've been to Israel about 8 times since 2017. We've had 2 trips planned every year since 2018. We've seen so many people's lives change. I'm blessed enough to have a podcast called Beyond the Letter, and on Apple Podcasts, one of my highest viewed podcasts on there, which has reached tens of thousands of people, is on why Christians should support Israel. This was all started because of Eagles Wings, and so we've really shifted our ministry. Additionally, we wanted to celebrate one of the largest Passovers in American church history. We had over 500 people partake, which Mark and Rabbi Erica Gerson were just incredible at teaching our church about what the Pesach really means. And as a pastor, I've been able to refer dozens of other pastors to these trips where their eyes have been opened and they have engaged their congregations in many similar ways.
My views have changed towards Israel and the Jewish people in merely 48 hours of being here, in that of I now feel connected to Israel. It's not just a myth. It's not just a story in the Bible. It's not what I've heard. It is now what I've experienced.
Israel is important. Israel is important not just to the Jewish community, but it is the very bedrock of the Christian community as well. As I looked at the news, all I could remember is when I was there, we were walking through a schoolyard and children started running out of their classrooms towards me, taking pictures. I immediately went to my phone and I started looking through those pictures, and my heart broke because I wondered, were one of those children being held captive? Were one of those children lying dead? And then the pain of Israel entered my home. No weapon formed against us shall prosper. I stand with Israel.
Thank you so much for sharing that video, Bishop.
Really powerful. Thank you for all of your work. You know, I've been sort of just reflecting on the impact that you and your organization have had, and in many ways, as sad as I am to say this, you've been more successful, you could say, than many of us in the Jewish community in creating Zionists and pro-Israel supporters. And I'm curious what you've learned or any advice that you may have for the Jewish community, especially with regard to young people, in terms of reaching the young people in the Christian world and the success that you've had there. Mm-hmm. You know, what can we learn from you to help us be similarly successful?
Sometimes I say Jerusalem brought me to Israel and Tel Aviv kept me with Israel. You know, Jerusalem speaks to the roots, it speaks to the history, it speaks to the foundations. But you look at the miracle of Tel Aviv. If you walk into my house, and my living room is on the mantelpiece, is the April 9th, 1904, the founding of Tel Aviv, the famous sand dune picture where they're all there on the sand dunes. And
It's a great picture.
So I think Israel tells a compelling story. When you have a nation that manages to have 14 Arab members of Knesset, Arab members who've served on the Supreme Court, when you have a nation that small that can have the Mea Shearim community of the Haredi Jews and the largest gay pride parade in, you know, the Middle East or probably the world. And somehow they've managed to take all of that complexity and wrap it up into this tiny piece of land. I'm fascinated by the story of Yaakov when he encounters Hashem and he wrestles throughout the night, and the question is, who's he wrestling with, right? Is he wrestling with an angel? Is he wrestling with Hashem? Is he wrestling with himself? All of the above. But Jacob becomes Israel because he wrestles. And I just see Israel constantly wrestling, right? It's the gift. Israel is constantly wrestling, and that's what keeps me a committed Zionist. I don't see a blindly zealous, unquestioning people. I see a people who are deeply grieved about the loss of innocent life anywhere. I see a people who deeply grieve and wrestle over these questions. So my answer to your question is, I think all that we try to do is we try to tell the totality of Israel's story. We try to really bring the ancient and the modern together. and then connect it to the meta-narrative of what kind of world do we want to live in. If Israel ceases to exist, what does that say about the human race? What does that say about this planet? And so that, to me, galvanizes Israel's fight and makes it humanity's fight. People say, oh, Stearns, pro-Israel, pro-Israel. I say, listen, I'm pro-Palestinian. I'm pro-people. God is pro-people. God loves everyone. God wants peace. And, I'm anti-hate. I'm anti-violence. I'm anti-dehumanization. And so, sadly, we're dealing with a radicalized community, there that I don't have to get into all that story. So my answer to your question is the beautiful, hard complexity of Israel's wrestling is, to me, the most compelling thing that keeps me so committed.
I think that one of the ways to fortify young Jews is to bring them in relationship with Christians. I mean, when young and not so young Jews see evangelical Christians that come to our home all the time, when they see evangelical Christians who love Shabbat, who want to study the Jewish text with us, who studied Jewish text on their own, who at Stephen Martin's church in Harker Heights, Texas, they begin the school day at the Christian school with the Shema. When you see Christians with their love of Israel, love of the Jewish people, wanting to learn more about their roots, the natural response of the Jew is, well, if they appreciate us so much, maybe I should appreciate myself and my own heritage, my own people, and my own state a little more. And so I think this relationship can help fortify Jews and Christians, importantly, together. And it only works together.
Mm-hmm. You want to open it up to the congregation? There we go. Sorry, I should have turned that on. I want to open it up to the congregation for questions. And I'm going to invite our neighbors from our neighboring church to ask the first question. So please just stand up, introduce yourself, and then I'll just remind everyone that a question is a sentence that ends in a question mark.
Okay, I'm very happy to be here. I'm on the board of the church, St. Paul Westport. I'm Lois Petty. I am so thrilled to be here. And Tim is also a member of our church. We are an evangelical church, Zionist church, right in the middle of Westport. And I don't know where to begin. I mean, every word that you said resonates with what we've been living with. And I'll try and make more questions, but this past Thursday, we have hosted National Day of Prayer in front of the town hall on Veterans Green. And every year I hand out flyers that have the flag of Israel and the flag of the United States at your office and at your office. And you have come, Rabbi Wiederhorn has come to pray at the National Day of Prayer 2 years ago. And you said the most beautiful prayer for Israel. And we all, I want to give Tim a chance as well. But for the last couple of years, I've noticed we've kind of gotten the cold shoulder from the Jewish community. And I didn't know why, because you've always been very warm to us, and you had lunch with our pastor. And we had 3 Jewish people at the National Day of Prayer. And I asked Paul Lipoff, he's a member of Or Hadash, and Judy Shapiro, I believe she's a member of your church. I said, why aren't anyone talking to us? And Paul Lipoff said, well, because they're getting misinformation about Zionist Christians. And I said, well, what kind of information are they getting? And he said exactly the same things that you said.
And if I can, thank you so much for sharing. And I'm on the National Committee for the Day of Prayer, so I was at the Capitol celebration with Speaker Johnson. Mayor Soloveichik offered the prayer there. And I would just say that I think we're in a particularly highly politicized moment right now in American history. And, I would really have an understanding where, because, as we said, the 3 guerrillas, because of the backdrop, and then we have an administration where currently things are very heightened. There's a lot of polarization happening on social media, and that's why nights like Important, I think, are so important to bring it down to the grassroots level. So thank you for being here so much, Rabbi.
I would say, well, if your church has a young pastor and you want to send him on an Eagles Wings trip, we could sign him up right now. Great.
Let me just give the microphone just quickly, because you're speaking to the microphones of people can hear you.
Swords came from Israel, and the first thing he asked for, I want to connect with churches. And so Paul Lipoff says, oh, I know the church you need to connect with. And so he connected Amit with our church, with St. Paul Church.
St. Paul's.
And we'd been to, I'm so excited about this.
Wonderful. Well, let's hear from some of our...
I'll connect the pastor with...
Is that where Paul and Rivers Teskey were? Yes. I know Paul. I know your pastor, your former pastor, right? Yeah. Paul and Rivers, I know them well. I know their pastors. Yes.
Hi, I'm Allison Waxstein.
Nice to meet you.
I'm a member of Temple Israel. The pastor in Chicago who spoke against the BDS that they were trying to get through, did he and his congregation show up at Northwestern after October and when there was the anti-Israel protests there?
Yeah, I know they've been to many of the events. They're working very closely with the Federation. In fact, the Federation just gave him, I think he was the first Gentile to receive their friend of Israel. They just gave him a big award. I don't know line by line which things they've been to, but I know they're in constant communication and connection to their federation there.
And are there pastors and congregations in New York who show up at a lot of these?
Right. So a lot of what it's a great question, and a lot of what that has to do with, I think that the Jewish community learned a lot, right, through the birthright example. You had this amazing birthright program. It was so powerful. But the question was, what about the follow-up? What happens when people come back? Because that's really where you have to integrate. So we are just right now in the place of, we've had incredible success with the trips, and we've had incredible success, as you saw, with the pastors bringing the trips back to Israel. But now how do we integrate that at a ground level into building out a national infrastructure? So literally this week, we've begun appointing state coordinators, city coordinators, all of that, rolling this out across the nation to give greater heft where it's needed on the ground. Mm-hmm.
My name is Eileen Rosen. I'm a member of Temple Israel for the last 47 years. That's it. The length of my life, that's all. I want to ask you a very basic question. What is your theology?
What is my theology?
Ask any clergy what's your theology.
On one foot. In the next 10 foot.
How much time do we have?
My theology is that God is a God of love, and God is a God of love. God is a God of mercy. God is a God of justice. And I think of the verse. I believe it's Micah. One of the rabbis will help me, but he says this: "What does the Lord require of us, but that we do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly?" So if we do those three things, we've pleased God. If we do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly.
Amen.
My name is Rayleigh, and I want to thank you for coming and talking to us. I'm one of those people who knew nothing about evangelical Christianity, and I was very warmly welcomed the education. I also grew up in Israel, so I love Israel as well. It's really heartwarming to know that there's so many people on the other side that love us and support us. I'm concerned a little bit about Europe, and I wonder whether you can talk a little bit about the landscape of evangelical Christianity in Europe, which is turning so sharply against Israel.
Well, Europe is, right, it's a problem. If there is one hope for Europe, it is that the massive immigration to Europe from Africa, parts of Asia, has not only been Muslim immigration. There have been a lot of evangelicals who have immigrated. And that is causing a strong growth and resurgence in evangelicalism in Europe. Now, it is not, it's not white Anglo evangelicalism, but, Cote d'Ivoire and Nigeria, they have huge churches in Paris and London and other places. I'll be going to London to speak in, actually next month. So, has it reached a cultural tipping point of no return? Maybe. That would be tragic, but it's possible. But I do think that the one sign of hope that we have is that there are very strong ethnic immigrant evangelical churches that are growing in Europe. And they escaped totalitarian regimes, so they're far more willing to fight because they went there to escape this, and now they see it happening where they escaped to. So they are more organized to fight and stand their ground.
I think it's actually a fascinating and novel take on the future of Europe there, Bishop, so appreciate that one. Rachel, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Rachel Cohn from Temple Israel. Thank you so much for coming and for this education. You talked about evangelical support of things like women's rights and human rights and free press and all good things that we love too. And my question is, what advice do you have for the Jewish community in reckoning with the American left? A group that many of us felt that we were a part of for many years and are now confused. So wondering if you have advice for us.
So a few things, similarly to our no proselytizing policy and all those things, we have taken as an organization, we are a strictly bipartisan, or some people tell us to say nonpartisan platform. We do not politicize this. We believe that this is an American issue and even more so a human issue. Having said that, it's very clear that when you're dealing with places that leave what has classically been the left or the Democrat Party, and now we're moving into something completely other, and you kind of see the emergence of the red-green alliance, right? You see radical Islam and a radical Marxism unifying and seeking to destabilize and destroy, I think, the American experiment. So what is my advice to you? My advice is build alliances with those who are here to build alliances. How much money was given to Columbia and Harvard and all of these institutions, and where were they on October the 8th? And one of the things, and I don't take any glee in this, but for 25 years, I said to the state of Israel and to anybody who'd listen, I said, you're taking evangelical support for granted, and you're only one generation away from losing it. You're one misstep away from it going the wrong direction. And now you're seeing that. You're seeing the rise on the right of, these various right-wing social media personalities who are galvanizing on the right under a Christian guise. So I would say build with us. That's my answer to you. Really, honestly, we have to forge a deep alliance, again, an alliance of common sense. And so that's why we stay very bipartisan. Last year we welcomed Senator Cory Booker and Speaker Mike Johnson. They were both there with us. We're trying to build bridges wherever we possibly can.
I think we have time for one more question, so Lawrence gets the last question.
Hi, Lawrence Herman from Temple Israel. Thank you for coming. Just want to say, there's great examples of non-Jews who have done great things for the Jews. Jethro, Cyrus the Great, Napoleon, and Julian II tried. Appreciate what you're doing for the Jewish people in Israel, but my question is about education in young people. Clearly the polls show there's a rise of anti-Semitism among the young, there's a rise of, if they even understand it, Marxism among the young. There's obviously a difference between, I think, the red states and the blue states. I've seen elements in the Westport Library, in the Westport school system that I think would be quite shocking and alarming to people. what are you and your pastors doing to push down common sense, if you will, not
Right.
mistruth, not propaganda, but common sense to the young people in your communities, and do you have suggestions how we can scale that?
Yes. So one of the most recent examples of that, we are, I won't, and again, we're broadcasting, so I won't be at liberty to give all of the details, but we're forging relationship with some of the largest and most powerful Christian universities in the nation, right? Like literally real time as we speak. And those universities are telling us, if you can build the program and get us the resources, we will send an unlimited amount of students to Israel with you. We're talking thousands of students. And two of the universities in particular I'm thinking of both have robust law programs. They're producing fantastic attorneys and judges and those who are going to have a career in law or politics or governance. We have a very, because of Mark's genius and his mentorship of us, we have a very comprehensive, multifaceted plan for the entire ecosystem, because it has to be about pastors, the younger generation, media. You have to hit all of these areas, and that's what we're working on. But I really believe that the next generation is crucial, and they don't only listen to their pastors. They also listen to social media influencers. They're getting a lot of their information off of TikTok and Instagram, God help us. Yeah. So we have to be present in those places, and we're working to do all of that. And thank you for your support. Thank you. Yes, Lawrence has been a sponsor in the past, and we're very grateful for your ongoing sponsorship, Lawrence. Thank you so much.
Is that on?
There we go. Now, I just want to say I admire Rachel's question. Because one of the hardest things to do psychologically is to question your preconceptions, your beliefs, particularly once you've had them for a while. And there was an expression about 100 years ago when the atrocities of the Soviet Union became known, and then a lot of young Jews and young others were socialists or communists, and then the massacre of Kronstadt became known. And then a lot of the people who were once affiliated with communism and socialism, when they learned about Kronstadt, they gave it up. So the expression became known, what was your Kronstadt? In other words, what was the moment that made you rethink everything and potentially change? And the answer for a lot of those people was, my Kronstadt was Kronstadt. And of course, for many liberal Jews, our Kronstadt, not that I was a liberal Jew, but for many liberal Jews, it was October 7th. And I remember right after October, it was probably the month after, we had an event in our home for Eagle's Wings, and then a liberal Jewish woman just came to the event, met evangelicals for the first time. Then she told me a few days later she went to one of those classic liberal organizations, and she heard what they were saying about Israel and the Jewish people, both what they were saying and what they were not saying, and she said, now I know who my friends are. And I think those of us who are committed to the Jewish people, to the Jewish state, we have to acknowledge the truth in what she said and realize that so much of the left and even liberalism is completely infected with anti-Semitism. And I think each person has to reckon for himself what that means for each of our politics. I was thinking about a friend of mine who I admired tremendously. I don't know if anyone here knows her, Samantha Edis, who 10, 15 years ago, she was leading Democratic Party organizations in New York, and then she moved to LA, and I just saw her in the car over. She was on Fox News talking about in support of Spencer Pratt. So I think a lot of thoughtful people are asking the questions that they didn't ask before October 7th, and asking, is this a Kronstadt to me?
Well, I want to thank you both. Bishop Stearns, what an incredible evening, what an incredible organization you've created, what incredible friends to the Jewish people and the Jewish state you have nurtured and cultivated here and around the world. We're grateful for your friendship. We're grateful for your teaching. We're grateful for your warmth and kindness. You're always welcome here. And Mark, thank you for your support of Eagle's Wings and of helping introduce this vast and significant world of evangelical Zionism to Jews like us. So thank you both this evening. Let's give them a round of applause.
Hey, one more thing. I mean, Michael, we reconnected at Lawrence's home probably 4 or 6 weeks ago, and I mentioned Eagles Wings and evangelicals, and you said, well, when can we get the bishop to the synagogue? And it was just, I was just blown away, not only by your openness and your question, but by your immediate action. And it immediately reminded me of one of the great Jewish truths from Rabbi Moses Luzzatto, the Ramchal, when he said, the deeds of the righteous are done immediately. And you're righteous, and your deeds are done immediately, so thank you for your friendship.
Oh.
Appreciate it. And thank you to you, Jeremy, as well, for partnering, as always, on these. I know you have to run to
A
another
very important
commitment.
board meeting, yes, yeah. That's okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.